In my book, Changes That Heal, I call this becoming an adult. Now, here is the psychological structure that lives in your head, just like architecture does. You know, when you build a person, you're internalizing personality structure. It's like you are like a building. Okay. You got a basement, you got a foundation, you got a frame, and you got wiring and all this stuff. Well, when you're constructing a human being, they start out, and if you can see this on a screen up here, you know, if you're on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, here's where you are as a little person, and the big people are up here, right? So you're down here and they're up here. Now notice this angle. This means you are under, if you do it like this, you're under their authority, right? That's the way it's designed to be. Little person comes to the world and they look up to their parents, and their parents are the authorities. Authority means expertise. The the parents have the expertise. Where's the food? How do you pay the mortgage? Where's the car? How do we get to the playground? Where's the ice cream? See, where how do I get this crap off of me? You know, they know all that. Well, gradually, what see you're and there's a dynamic of one up and one down. So parents are up here and you're down here. Well, what good authority figures do is they transfer that expertise to you over time. First, you learn how to get the food in your mouth, and you go, oh, okay, I'm going to let you feed yourself now. And they give you that expertise, and you grew a little. And then you know, you go through toilet training and they delegate that expertise to you. Oh, you can take care of that one. And then you get to pick your own friends if you do a good job. And then you get to choose your own courses and then your own hobbies. And look, gradually, look what's happening. Look what's happening. Oh, we're an adult. Gradually, you reach adulthood. Now, that should happen around 20 years old is when it should happen. We legalize it in this country at 18, some ways 21. I think you can go to war at 18, but you can't buy a beer, which figure that out. We get to be an adult somewhere around 20. Psychologically, that's not a bad guess. Unless you don't. I live in California. It's not 20. I think it's 47 is the average age. But what happens if you get stuck? What happens if your authority, like churches, teachers, parents, grandparents, siblings, what if somebody who was you were under in some way, at least psychologically, if not functionally, what if they kept you down and didn't empower you? And what if they were critical and that criticism kept you down and didn't empower you? What if they didn't give you choices and experiences and didn't empower you? Then you stay stuck. And here's the key: the structure stays stuck. So now at 30, you're going out into the adult world where you are an equal adult with your neighbor or your sibling or your coworker or whoever, your pastor. You're equal to them. You can make up your own mind. You don't have to please them, but you feel inferior. And so now you do people pleasing. You got to have their approval. You can't have them upset with you. You can't have them disagree. Can't have them judge you. Well, you're judging me. Well, if you feel equal to them, you don't feel judged. You think they're weird. But if you feel one down, then you have anxiety and you have a panic attack and you feel, you know, all this other stuff. Well, becoming an adult is exactly that. It's going through a good adolescence where you do a an overthrow of the government. That's what adolescence is supposed to be. You're supposed to take this authority back. How do you do it? Because you move out from under authority and you join a peer group and you have some guides in the peer group and they train you where these people, and then you get to be an adult. You go back to mom or dad and say, you know what? I know you believe this, but I believe that. Let's talk about it. They go, well, I can't believe you. Oh, no, mommy's displeased with me. You're 30 years old. Get over it. And so we got to grow up. We got to grow up. And the onus of responsibility for growing up is on the child. They're the ones that have to begin to think for themselves and experiment and go do this. But to be fair, They can't do that if they're prisoners and they're slaves. One of my favorite verses about this, Galatians 4, says, when we were children, we were under guardians and managers, and we were no different than slaves. They had all the control. It says, until the date set by the father. See, the parent is supposed to look at you and say, okay, son, okay, daughter, you're an adult now. I'm setting you free. And I remember my daddy used to tell me from the time I was, I'm going to say 6 years old. He used to say, son, I didn't get to go to college. His father died and he had to go to work to feed the family. He came from a very poor family. And he said, I didn't get to go to college and I want you to be able to go to college. So I'm saving, I've already put it aside and it's paid for. So you're going to college. That's my job. He said, your job is to make the grades to be able to get into a college. And so that's your job. You got to do that. Now, I'm going to pay for that. Now, once you go to college, he said, I'm done. You can come by for a sandwich if you want, and I might give you one, but I'm done. Don't ever come out here the back around here with your hand out after you're 22 years old. And I knew there was an end date. Okay. Well, we need that. And a kid that's 30, 40, 50 years old, and I say kid because you feel one down to the adult world. When you feel that, you're one down. You got to take that power back. You got to start thinking for yourself and disagreeing and having your own opinions and all of that. And when you do that, emotional symptoms begin to go away, like anxiety, like some kinds of depression, like some kind of triggers for addiction. They get triggered on criticism, for example, and you grow up. Now, remember the key, what I said. How does a teenager do that? They do it through a peer group. Now, hopefully, a healthy peer group. Who are the healthy adults? The teenagers that had healthy peer groups to become adult that help them make good choices. Who are the struggling dysfunctional adults? The ones that in their teen years, oftentimes, had negative peer influences. And so they grew up into empowered negative influence, or they had no peer to help them bridge the way to becoming an adult. Okay. So get a good peer group and think for yourself.